Hello everyone, and thanks for visiting Bluebeam Back to Basics. Today we'll be talking about Bluebeam Studio Projects. For those of you I have not met personally, you can reach me at that phone number and email address, and we encourage you to visit our website where you can learn all about our Bluebeam training program. To access Bluebeam Studio Projects, you need to be connected to the Studio server. So within Bluebeam Review, go to the Studio panel and you'll need to sign in. If you haven't already done so, you'll have to create an account first. Once you've signed in to the Studio server, you get to choose between Studio Sessions and Studio Projects. If you've been invited by someone else to join a Studio project and you have not done so yet, it will be listed under this tab, Not Joined. Any studio projects you've already joined will be listed under this tab. You can use the Add button to either join a studio project. Now, if you do that, you'll need the 9-digit number associated with that project if you didn't receive an invitation. Or you can create your own studio project. If you have an unlicensed copy of Bluebeam, meaning you downloaded the trial and the trial period has ended, the new project option will not be available. An unlicensed seed of Bluebeam can join projects and sessions, but not create them. Once you choose New Project, you simply give it a name. The project will be created, and it will automatically be assigned a 9-digit number. You can see that number in the upper left-hand corner of the interface. Unlike Studio Sessions, where you do invitations and permissions up front, you do that after the creation of a studio project. To invite people to your studio project, simply go to the invite icon, and to change permissions, go to the project settings icon. Studio Projects is all about cloud-based document storage, access, management, and revision history. To add documents to your studio project, you can add any document type to your project by either going into Windows Explorer and dragging and dropping the document, or choosing Upload Files. If I choose Upload Files, it will open Windows Explorer and I can select the files I'd like to upload. Unlike Studio Sessions, Studio Projects is not limited to just the PDF file format. If on an accessible drive I have an entire folder of documents that I'd like to upload to a studio project, I can alternatively use the Upload Folder option, identify the main folder, and every folder, every subfolder, and every document within that tree will be uploaded to the studio project. That's the method I'm going to use, and I'll show you two different folder types. This tree is structured based on department names, whereas this tree is structured by file type. Studio Projects has no preference as to how you structure your files or what type of files you manage. I'm going to choose by file type, and it will recreate that entire tree and every file within that structure. I'll go back again. I'll right-click and upload another folder, and I'll choose by department. If you have good data to pull from, this is undoubtedly the fastest way to get documents and a folder structure into a studio project. Once you've created your folder structure the way you intend to use it, that's the best time to then go into the settings interface and modify folder permissions. The default presumption for folder permission is that you will establish a standard access behavior at the root level and then inherit that down unless you have a specific desire to change a specific folder. The way this is set up currently, all of my subfolders will have read privileges because the one above, the one above, and the one above, all working all the way back to the root, have only read capability. If I change by file type to have read and write, now these 4 subfolders will also have read and write, but everything under by department will still be read because it's going all the way back to the root. I could change it for by department, or I could go specifically to facility management and change that to something other than the inherited capabilities and mix and match that as much as I want. Further note that all of these folder permissions I'm doing are related to all attendees. If I had specific attendee names or specific groups of attendees, I could choose group or individual identities and modify these folder permissions for a group of people or a specific individual user as well. Once I access a folder that has files within it, I can right-click on any one of those files. In this case, I'll choose the Excel door schedule. And when I right-click, it shows me all of the available file manipulation commands that I can take advantage of based on the privileges granted to me. So this file, I could check it out, which will leave it on the cloud server, but it will reserve it for my exclusive access. I can open it, which would download a editable copy of it on my local machine. I could perform some obvious options like download a copy, rename, cut, copy, or delete. If I choose share link, it's going to create a web-based URL that I can share with anybody, whether they have Bluebeam or not, and it will grant them downloadable access to be able to download a copy of this document. To do that, you choose whether it is for the lifetime of the project or only for 24 hours, whether or not you want to require a password, and if it is a PDF file that has markups, whether or not you want those markups flattened. I'll hit OK. This will be the path that I can share with anyone. All I have to do is copy that and email it, or through some other method make that link available to them. To show revision control, instead of working with a PDF as we typically do, I'll use a MicroStation file. I'm going to grab the site plan, I'll right-click on it and say that I want to check it out. That will reserve it for my exclusive use. Then I'll open it, which launches the native application. From here, I've got full read-write edit capabilities the same way I would if I open this DGN file through any other method. So we'll pretend for a moment that I've modified it. I'll exit out. With MicroStation, there's no need to save the file. It does it automatically. And then I reach that point where I decide what to do with the edited document. If I right-click, I see I've got some new additional options like update the server copy. That would leave the file checked out to me, but it would update the copy on the server so that people can see my changes. I could undo checkout, which would in essence throw away any changes I made and free up the file so that everybody has access to it again. I could replace the file with an alternative DGN file, revert changes, copy the file, and so on. I'm going to choose check in. When you check in a file that you have checked out, whether you made modifications to it or not, Studio Project will prompt you for some type of comment when you check it back in. This is optional, but we'll take the time to do that. So now I have a MicroStation file in the cloud that a project participant checked out, opened, modified, and checked back in. If I right-click on that file and go to Revision History, I'll be able to see that. This is the file as it was uploaded, and this is the file after it was manipulated and checked back in. On an active project, it wouldn't be inconceivable to open a document like this to look at the history and see many, many, many different revisions. At any time, you can select any one of the previous revisions, and you can open it to view it, or you can restore that as the most up-to-date revision. If I choose that here, we'll actually wind up with a third revision. We'll have the original, then the edited, and then a third one, which is in essence a copy of the first one, saying that this is the most up-to-date. When I restore it, it automatically opens it in the native application. And now you can see that it has been restored from revision 1. If you are working in a studio project and that project contains PDF files, and you want to take one of those PDF files or multiple PDF files and open a studio session so that you can collaborate with other project participants. That's as simple as selecting the document, right-clicking, and choosing the option Add to a new studio session. Here you'd give the session a name, it would automatically be assigned a 9-digit number, and from that point forward it would be like any other studio session. Here I've named it Studio Project Demo. And now it's created the studio session and taken the document along with it. If I return to the project, I can identify any other PDF file, right-click on it, and instead of creating a new session, I can add it to an existing session. And now you can see the second file coming into the studio session. Now myself and any other invited project participant can collaborate on this document. If you need a copy of the folder structure and the documents that you've got within a studio project, if you have the right privileges, at any time you'd be able to go to the project name, right-click, and choose Download Copy, and it would download a copy of the entire studio project. If you ever need to remove a studio project, I'm going to close it down, go to my list of studio projects, and from here I've got two options. If I want the project to remain on the server and remain accessible to any authorized project participants, I just don't want to see it in my list anymore. I can right-click on it and say Remove from List. Or if I actually want to remove it and delete it from the studio server, I can choose Delete. Now that is an action that cannot be undone. The last thing I'll cover in this summary of studio projects is the synchronization function. If I go back to the project name and I right-click on it, you can see the option for sync right here. If I go to actions, you'll see the option for sync right there. That does not mean that there's an active synchronization between the local storage location where you uploaded all of this information from and the cloud-based versions. That is not what this synchronization is all about. This synchronization is designed to build a cache so that you can go offline, take your computer to an area where you have zero internet access, and still be able to manipulate and make all of the changes you need to these documents, and then reconnect to the internet, reconnect to the studio server, and have all of the changes that you've done updated to the cloud. That's it. I hope you find this video helpful, and you'll review the other videos available as well.